Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. I'm Anah Parreli, and today I'm going to be talking with you, hopefully, well, as best we can under the circumstances. It's a one-way conversation until somebody makes a comment, which, of course, you're invited to do. But anyway, the aim is to talk about the Angel Shekinah. Her purpose is unity. Now, before we get into today's content, I just want to remind you, if this is the first time that you've visited the channel, that we have an angel playlist, and I do encourage you to go and look through the playlist. As an introduction, I have got how I found angels. There's a video on how I found them, how I started to involve or include them in my life. Then with each video, I've got dedicated videos towards the archangels and how you can invite them to participate or become actively involved in your own life as part of healing and empowerment. And then as far as the angelic realm, there's going to, by the time I complete the videos, and I've got about 50 of them that I will be launching as a starting point, there are tips and strategies and techniques on how you can actually draw upon their healing powers as well. I do also recommend, as part of just expanding your self-awareness, understanding your purpose in life, your personal journey, it's always interesting. It depends on where you are, how old you are, as to the influence of numerology on your life. But we've got numerology content, so I do encourage people to at least take a look at what it means for their ruling number and their day number, because this is going to offer some insight and explanation as to why your life takes certain trajectories and what your experiences and, if you like, lessons, or people talk about lessons of life. We're all students of life on a journey. Anyway, getting back to the welcome and the introduction part, I just want to thank you. Whether you're a returning visitor or whether a newbie to the channel, I want to thank you for joining me today and for being part of my journey as well. So now let's get into talking about who Shekinah is as an angel, and the power and the messages, and of course the blessings that she can bring to our lives once we start to call upon her. So the first thing I should bring to your attention is, if you're not aware, angels don't have feathery wings like we see in these images, and how they're quite commonly portrayed and associated with bird wings. They don't have a physicality, so they don't have wings like a bird. I do talk about their aura at different times and how their auras are winged, but I like to use images which do have the white feathers, simply because I think it conveys a feeling, or it just feels nice. It looks good to me. Now, the other thing too, when I speak about angels, they are genderless unless they're one of the seraphim or the cherubim. They will either present as masculine or feminine, depending on what we're comfortable with. I use them, well, in this instance, I'm associating Shekinah with a female type angel, and this is because of the links and associations with the mother aspects and the earth aspects, if I can speak. So the Shekinah represents what we call the divine feminine, or the divine mother. She is considered to be the divine manifestation of God's presence, the Creator's active light, and she carries a mighty and cleansing light within her. It's a light that angels enter into before prayer, and we can also draw upon this. Now, some people, such as myself, do consider her to be the feminine aspect of the Creator. If you look at that Father Creator, Mother Creator type thing, we will associate the Shekinah with the divine feminine. As I said, that's what that means. And she has the capacity, or she's believed by some people, to redeem us from all evil and liberate us within this regard. I must admit that when it comes to this kind of information that I'm sharing with you, this is not necessarily my belief. These are things that I have heard along the way, and it would be something that I would advise you to reflect upon to see if it feels right or true for you. Other information that I can give you is that Jewish people believe that the Shekinah is a place as opposed to a person. And some Christian groups believe that, when I say as opposed to a person, as opposed to an angel or an entity or whatever, Christian groups believe that the Shekinah is akin to a godlike status, such as a feminine god and a counterpart to Father Creator, and with Shekinah being the Mother Creator. I've just explained that's actually what I would be inclined to lean towards myself. Other people might call her the bride of the Lord, or some people might say this is where people like the nuns get that name that they're referred to as brides of Christ, because obviously they would be representing that aspect of faith, I guess is a good way to describe it. Anyway, whatever we believe, I think the core belief is she is reminding us that we're all one and we all have the Creator within us as that divine spark. It's what some people call the Namaste. The Christians might call it the Holy Spirit. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the next slides, because sometimes, as you'll be aware, it's very hard to verbalize things that are energy or not of this earth, because language, the use of words, it's very difficult to define, if I can speak, define and divine, actually, the cosmic perspective. So, of course, once we start speaking about the angels and the divine light, when they communicate, it is not through words, it's not through language, it's communicated telepathically through the heart and the third eye or the crown. Some people, depending on who you're speaking to and how they work, will also say through the throat chakra, because there's some people that believe that the throat chakra is the seat of the soul. And anyway, once again, I say all of this here with no totalitarian authority on the subject. And as I said before, if you really want to get down into the nuts and bolts of it and find personal truth, I do recommend that you try and develop your own connection and ask your own wisdom source, because I have a feeling that if all of us were to actually try and establish the truth of who and what Shekinah is, that we would all come up with similarities but differences, because there's always variations. What one person feels and believes to be true, another person may have a slightly different truth. It's like, I guess the best way to explain it is, if I look at the colour of the screen here, I've associated the Shekinah with the shades of purple. Well, purple has many shades, doesn't it? This is a shade of purple, but there's many different types of purple. It can have greater depth, it can be pale, it can be like a lilac, it can be deep like a violet. These are all shades of purple, and truth is the same. There is a consistency with a truth. So if we're talking about purple, it's a mix of the colours red and blue, but the shades and the variations in purples comes from the addition of new elements, and in this case, if we're talking about colour, it would be white. So there you go, something to ponder on, I guess. So understanding a little bit of the angelic hierarchy of which Shekinah is part of can help us to understand how she works, or how her role includes this business of unifying all aspects of ourselves. This is the unity of mind, body and spirit. So she's actually one of I'll be referring to her as a she. She's one of the third order inner angels, and they tend to be quiet and introspective. Their role is one that hears the voice of wisdom and they visualize it, and then they broadcast this vision outwardly. They create a vibration of feelings and emotions. Now, they also, when we talk about this power that she carries, it is the power of fire, if you like. Well, she's part of it, because obviously we've got Nathaniel, I think, is the angel of fire. But as third order inner angels, they hold this fire of transformation, and it sears away everything that prevents and blocks a person from finding unity with the Creator. The primary teaching is that most people will seek knowledge, love and a feeling of well-being and divine connection outside of ourselves, and this is where problems lie. Now, the third order inner angels as a group generally speaking, they work together to teach us not to be, looking outside or raising our eyes to heaven as though the Creator is somewhere out there, somewhere distant from us, because this is the concept of separation, that when we're trying to pray and to foster this connection, we're looking outside. I mean, just try and visualize that image of a person praying and looking upwards when actually it's in ourselves. So it would be, I think, as an image, better to hold your heart and close your eyes and focus on your heart. And if you were trying to strengthen the connection with Creator, that you would actually do it this way. Look, I apologize if you can hear my little puppy running crazily around the house. So her role, of course, is to actually help us to do this connection through the feelings, to feel love, to feel the truth, and to feel the comfort that is associated with this love that transforms our lives, and to know it at a core level. Once we feel the love of the Creator, then we can be at one with the Creator. So just another interesting factor here, the way we share information, of course, is based on our experiences and our understandings. And somewhere along the way, it has been a case where the Shekinah has been associated with the tree of life. Now, if people aren't aware of the tree of life, it's actually very symbolic, okay? If you look at this image here, I've tried to get a good image which shows these really deep grounded roots, the health of the tree, which we could equate to our sense of self, is about being very solidly grounded on the earth, being present here and now as we walk our path and journey. But at the same time, the branches are our arms reaching outwards. We can compare it that way, where we draw the energy from the heavens, the universe, the skies, the above us, down into our body, and we actually feed the tree trunk, if you like, and the earth by bringing in the oxygen and the light. This is all comparable type stuff. I mean, put your own interpretations up, but I actually particularly like this image because we see a very strong trunk, which I equate to the human body. We see a very strong connection to the earth. We see a very wide, I can't think of the word that describes canopy, the leaf canopy of the tree with the branches, and in between that we actually see this white light coming through the trees, which is representative, of course, of the white light that we talk about, that carries all the hues of the rainbow. But anyway, going back to the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, these are considered to be tremendous powers or sources of healing energy, and also, of course, knowledge, because what you know, you can actually work with. So it's through knowledge that we access the healing information that we need, basically. So one of the first messages that Shekinah wants to share with us is, or to convey to us, is to have us really know at a core level and recognize, fully realize that you, as much as obviously me and anybody else, that we are all, and this includes you, are a unique and important manifestation of the divine. Now, when we're born, we have this memory of where we come from that is removed, because this is part of our journey of life, is to remember who and where we are from, and to reunite with our eternal. And this is basically the divine blueprint. One of our goals is to remember who we are. We are divine manifestations of the Creator. And the way we find this out is to raise the vibration, and also what is referred to as raising the veil, lifting the veil of illusion. Now, from my perspective, to give you some information here on my own experiences, is you may have been around young children and seen that some of them, because it's really fascinating, when we don't inhibit our children, they are still open a lot of the time, and they will actually give us information of what they remember before they were born. It's not uncommon at all. But as they mature, of course, this memory wanes a little bit, and it depends, of course, on the child and how we bring them up. So my children were wide open because I didn't shut them down. I wasn't aware consciously of a lot of the things anyway at that point in time. But what I didn't do was say, oh, you're off with the fairies. If they had an imaginary friend, I didn't try and stop that, okay? Now, because I consciously started my journey at a time when my children were actually in primary school and they were actually seeing visions and sharing with me the visions that they saw, I at that time thought that my children were probably somewhat more special than other people's children. I didn't realise that other people's children did it too. But what happened was I actually then met other people, particularly with 2-year-olds, where we never fed the information to our children. We didn't even try to sway them. And I would discourage people from doing that rather than try and steer what the child is sharing with you. Allow them to express and listen to what they say and just do the like, that's interesting, or tell me more about that, and you will be absolutely fascinated by what they can tell you. I think in my scenario, if I was to compare it to my children, at a time I was very, very skeptical about whether or not they were fantasizing, because we as parents tend to do that. The children would come out and tell me that they saw certain things, or that they might have seen a spirit or whatever, and the spirit was giving them a message. Well, they wouldn't say it like that because they were young, but they would come out and say, there's a spirit and it's in my bedroom. And of course, I'd do the normal mother eye roll and like, oh, that's interesting. We'll go back and ask it what it's there for. And one of the most amazing things that I ever had, bearing in mind that my children hadn't been exposed to this kind of stuff, I had a child come out and read writing off what she said were, she described actually what I would call the sacred tablets that we would refer to, that the 10 Commandments are written on. And because she drew an outline with a finger on a hand, and because I had said, okay, so this was a response to me saying, oh, okay, well, ask the spirit if it's got a message for you. I thought she was full of it, to be honest. And she turned around, drew an outline on a hand, and then she read from it. Now, her reading wasn't good at the time. This is my child that was a bit full on, and she struggled with the words as she was reading it. And so what she said to me was, the per, I'm not going to torture you with it, but I knew that what she was saying was true because she struggled to pronounce the words. And it was like if I was getting her to sit down and read me a book. In the book, if your child's reading to you and they struggle with pronunciation, we will correct them. And so what she came up with, she said, basically the power and the wisdom lies within you. But with her pronunciation, she was like the power, the power and the wisdom, the power and the wisdom. And I was like, no, you were right the first time. It's the power and the wisdom. That's a very profound message for a child to receive. And now the other thing I said, okay, well, that's a beautiful message, as you do, as a parent does. And then I said, does the spirit have another message for you? And God bless, she got a bit frustrated because it was bedtime, and she stomped out after turning around saying to me, yes, he said, listen to your mother knows best. I thought, oh, I like that one, as you do. So Shekinah guides us to take an approach to our body and this unique manifestation of who we are, that our body is a temple. It is a space where the divine resides, as we stated before with this idea of the divine spark. But the idea or the objective should be where we fill our entire being with the energy of the Creator, where we enlarge that spark so much that it consumes our body, obviously not physically, but it fills our body. And in this way, our bodies become the place where the Creator or the eternal spark, eternal body, where it lives. Now, as part of respecting the Creator and divine energy, we must also respect ourselves, and this is what she teaches us. We have to take care of our bodies. We need to clean it regularly. We need to be mindful of what we put into this temple of the Creator. You're encouraged to set aside your judgments and any feelings of unworthiness that you might hold, because once you've lifted the veil, you become aware that spirit, that Creator, divine energy, is as close to you, your mind and your thoughts, it's as close to you as the air that you breathe. But when the veil is down, it is only your mind and thoughts that limit your experience of the Creator's presence. So it's something for you to consider. So, as the angel of unity, she explains that union is where there is a fusion. This is the goal of completion, where you're aware of the Creator or God's presence, whatever name you like to refer to the Creator, where you're aware of his or her presence in all forms and in other people. Anything and everything that is living creates an aspect, has an aspect of the divine within it. She says the Creator is continually expanding and evolving, a living entity, and that the Creator desires your love as much as you long for the love of the eternal. God is desiring of you to return to conscious awareness. Now, when you're ready to receive the Creator's love, you will receive a stream of electronic light substance. Some people will call it a liquid white fire. It will enter through your physical body, or enter into the physical body through your pineal gland, and it will fill all the nerve channels, and these channels pass through your entire body. If you have been working with energy or have any experience of healing energy, you will recognize there becomes a physiological response to receiving this energy, because your heart might beat faster, you might actually feel warmth, you're going to feel potentially pins and needle type sensations, or what do they call it, goose flesh, the prickling of the skin or whatever. It doesn't hurt, but this is what you're actually feeling. Your body is responding to this energy coming into your body because it's going down through your nerve channels, and it energizes your brain as well. Now, Shekinah explains, when you feel peaceful and loved and have this strong connection to the divine, then you're going to feel healthy, vital, youthful, and even beautiful. Ill health and early aging occurs when there's undesirable thoughts that control the mind. So, of course, she recommends to master your thoughts and emotions, because these have to be released and they have to be transmuted from negative to positive. Suppression of feelings, thoughts, and memories becomes counterproductive. Instead, it is a matter of recognizing these destructive thoughts, shall we say, and emotions, and then be willing to root them out. Root out anything that is unloving, unkind, and judgmental. Any thoughts that are devoid of compassion, allow them to be replaced with a tranquility of the soul. And these are the blessings that the divine gives to us, which obviously is better health, feeling empowered, feeling peace. Oh my goodness me. So, other guidance from Shekinah is where she reminds us to be alert to receiving the wisdom, the guidance, and the energy from our eternal self. That's you too. Okay, the fragment of the Creator that lies within you, and to go inward to commune with this fragment on a regular basis. She explains that the eternal self is actually the Shekinah. Okay, this is the bit that lies within us. It's the unifying aspect, and it provides the power which the outer self can use to hold and maintain this connection to the divine source. Now, the outer self and the internal self are already united in all reality. Okay, there is no actually necessity to create the connection, she's saying, because the connection is already there through this divine spark. However, we have to believe it. We have to acknowledge it and recognize this on a conscious level. And so she reminds us that the greatest illusion that we mere mortals have is that we are separate from God, Creator, whatever name you want to use for the divine, eternal. All right. The consequence of these beliefs in limitation is that we think we must do X or Y. And if we don't do X or Y, then we're going to become some kind of victim of a particular aspect of life. So she says we're not separate. The only thing we have to really do is learn to follow our guidance as part of connecting with the divine source and the light that lies within. Now, I do have a little bit of a story here that might help. I'm a little sheepish to admit it, but I will admit it, okay? You may have heard me mention it if you've watched other videos. It was about me recognizing, I suppose, my own ego at this particular time. This was in the very early days of me developing conscious awareness. And this refers to a time when I met a lady whose gifts of clairvoyance and not so much a clairaudio, but the clairaudience had blown open overnight, basically, where she was able to see angels and guides. And she was very confused. In fact, actually, I was able to help her to develop her capacity to interpret the images that she was seeing and her clairaudience, I guess. And in fact, it was an amazing story of how we were introduced, how the universe brought us together, because it was actually through her guide that this connection was made. Now, once I had assisted her to be able to interpret and understand what she was seeing, she was like literally on fire. She could communicate with her guide like they were standing there directly in front of her. With a body. Okay, there was no challenge to the conversations, really. Anyway, the story goes, she blew open to a guide. She decided to open up a metaphysical store as guided, following her own guidance. And I asked her, because I was pretty surprised. I thought, we're talking about a lady who's not had any metaphysical experience. She knows nothing about chakras. She has not been involved in healing energy in any way, shape, or form. But all of a sudden, this was where I was coming from at the time, okay? All of a sudden, this woman apparently is confident enough to build a shop to sell product to people for these purposes. And I thought, oh, she's going to need a bit of help. That's ego, by the way. And of course, she's going to need me. Bit more ego, right? Because I actually know about crystals and things like that. So I told her, thinking I was being a good friend, that I would support her. I hope you can hear the humour in my voice, because when I look back at this, it actually is quite laughable in hindsight. So anyway, on her grand opening day, of course, she had lots of people turn up at a shop to buy things like crystals. Now, I decided to make myself present there. I was there on the day, just walking around the store, available if she needed to call on me. Well, I say it was ego, but it wasn't. It wasn't, because I was not so egotistical as to be offended. I was humble enough to actually see the humour in the situation, even at the time. There was I fretting as I walked around the shop that somebody was going to put her on the spot and she would be uncomfortable trying to give these messages about what the metaphysical properties of the crystals were. Sure enough, it came to the point where a lady, well, two of them, walk up to the counter at the same time, quickly followed by a third person, all holding crystals in their hand, all holding them out to her to say, I'm just wondering, is this the right one? I suffer from X and Y health issues. Should I get this crystal or should I get that one, kind of thing? And I thought that my friend, actually wouldn't even know what crystal they were holding out unless she went and looked at the label. But anyway, sure enough, what this this new friend did was she goes, oh, so sweetly, oh, I'm not sure. Just a moment. I'll just check in with my guides. She says, sticks a finger in her ear, because that's what she used to do. And then she would close her eyes, and then she's come back. And what she did was she channeled the information through to the ladies of what the crystals were, what the healing properties were, how they could use them, and everything else. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that was brilliant. And I do remember on the day thinking to myself, yep, she's got it. She doesn't need me. I can go home, because this woman and her guide are so onto it, because she was following her guidance. So Shekinah's guidance herself is, be alert to opportunities to tap into your own guidance, listen to them, and follow their advice. I hope you can't hear that noise in the background, by the way. I'll close the front door. Now, something for us all to have a little bit of a chew on is, Shekinah explains that the eternal self is actually, that aspect of ourself is not interested in smoothing out all the earthly problems that we face, but instead will quite often, well, there's no quite often about it, will present difficult and often painful opportunities to us as part of motivating and stimulating the process of cleansing and harmonizing our mind, body, spirit connection, okay? We've all been given free choice to either live in a restricted or limited way, or to embrace the divinity of who we are. Now, she also explains that if you're experiencing this really deep, unquenchable yearning and an incessant desire to connect with the Creator, this is the aspect of your eternal self. It's your divine fragment calling to you, prompting you to commence this process of liberating yourself from the illusions of the small self. Feeling desperate and abandoned are actually the greatest gifts that we as humans can receive, because it's during these times that we shift our focus onto the Creator, the Eternal, who has been with us for the whole time. And once we find the space of quiet and recognize the Creator and the Creator within, we will be overcome by this intensity of the energy, the longing, the love, and our desire to be closer to the Creator. Plenty of things, hymns, this makes me think of hymns that I've heard over time. I can hear them in my mind now, but I'm not sure that I want to mention them. But Closer to Thee is one saying that comes to mind straight away. Dear Lord, I can't remember what the name of that hymn is, but it's a beautiful one. Another one I grew up with, and I used to find myself singing it to my children actually, as a lullaby, which is God is Dwelling in My Heart, was one I used to sing. I did a whole recording of this slide and I must have forgotten to press the record button, so I'm going to repeat it. Okay, what I had actually said and missed capturing was the fact that when we do an invocation, of course, we call upon the Creator and angels. And as always, that I have given you an example of an invocation, which of course you can adapt to suit your own needs. But I did hold a discussion with myself, apparently, about this video that we've got here with the hands upright. And I realized that I actually haven't mentioned on any of the other videos, I don't think, that when we invoke, after we've finished the invocation, we actually do hold that space for a moment. This would be advisable to hold it for a minute or two, or however long you feel comfortable. It's all dependent on how much time you've got available. Sometimes you're in a rush. It might be that you just stand there for about 30 seconds. If that's the case, just another tip here, I will turn around and say, put out to the universe that I continue to receive the healing energy as I go about my business throughout the day. But the other thing is, when I do invocations, I do actually stand there with my hands upright. And one of the reasons, if not the only reason that I do this, is because I believe it reinforces to my brain that I am open to receive the healing energy of the divine. Now, I'd had a little tip there as well, is I don't believe at different times throughout my life, I've met people that have told me that you must do X and Y. And part of the you must do X and Y is you must put your hands upright to be able to receive, or the in with the left and out through the right kind of thing. Now, what I would like to make the point of is I don't believe that people realize when they say to be open to receive divine healing energy that you have to do X and Y, such as hold your hands upright, otherwise the energy can't get in. They're actually putting their limitations on divine energy onto you and others, okay? Because if we acknowledge that divine energy is infinite and miraculous and all the rest of it, the divine energy is not going to stop or be stopped from entering your energy fields simply because you're holding your hands in the wrong direction, or if you've chosen to wear a pair of shoes. I mean, somebody told me many years ago that you have to take your shoes off when you're meditating because rubber or synthetic heels and this kind of thing acts as a barrier to healing energy or to being receptive. Now, I would put to those people these days, like, do you really think so? Come on. If it's synthetic, yes, it's man-made, but it's man-made from divine product. And divine energy is, as I say, unlimited. It can get through anything. It's not a problem. But we have to do what feels comfortable. Now, I would obviously also say, look, if you're going to do a meditation, kick your shoes off because it's far more comfortable. But if you're meditating in a group and you've got smelly shoes, keep your shoes on. Or actually not your shoes, at least keep your socks on, okay? That would be my thoughts. So, of course, once we've completed our invocation, I don't know if I've actually mentioned this on any of the other videos, but I'll mention it here anyway, is once you do your invocation, Then take pause, hold that space with your hands upright, that receptive space that Shekinah is referring to, and allow yourself to feel the physical sensations of energy going through you. Now, you might feel nothing at all the first time that you start doing this, but over time, you will definitely start to feel tingling or something like that. But don't strain, just do the invocation, follow up with gratitude for blessings seen and unseen. Remembering that, of course, gratitude is an ascension attitude. It helps to raise the vibration, and it also helps you to energetically attract more experiences to be grateful for in your life. So, my friends, as always, we've come to the end of today's video. This is about all that I have to share with you. I certainly invite and encourage you to leave your own thoughts, comments, and experiences. All are welcome. Until next time, I wish you a blessed day, best week. Take care of yourself. Bye bye for now.